Elden Ring Nightreign is a video game that I dumped a couple hundred hours into recently, and now I want to talk about it. This will be a review slash overview kind of thing, my thoughts basically, very generally, on the game. Now, the first thing coming into this is that I didn't think I was going to like this game. I wasn't even going to buy this game, honestly. The reason for this is because I saw the promotions and stuff, and I was like, oh, what is this, like Fortnite? And yeah, that's it. Nothing against Fortnite gamers, it's just not my thing. But anyways, I was like, oh, it's Elden Ring, and it's like, how am I not going to play this? Right? So I bought it, obviously, and I played it, and I'm glad I did, because it's pretty good. They strip away many parts of the original game, and they add a little bit on top of what's left over. It is probably best described as like a reimagining of Elden Ring. So imagine you've got all the assets of the Elden Ring game, and you just use all those assets to make a different game. Well, that's what this is. This reimagining thing also has some maybe story implications. We'll come back to that in a minute, but I am positive on this game, and the biggest reason for that is because of the great Elden Ring combat, which is here. That's right, they stripped away a lot of things, but one of those was not the great combat system of Elden Ring. So if you like that, it's still here. And hey, I hope you like those weapons a lot too, because you're going to be using all those again as well. And again, if you like that combat, you're probably going to like this game. Unless playing with other players you don't like, which sometimes can be a little bit of a nuisance. But if you would rather just play solo, you can, and the game does scale down if that's what you want to do, so no problem. But before I get into the combat gameplay type stuff, I just want to talk about kind of one very general story element. In this game, we're meant to be in kind of like an alternate universe version of the same world that we existed in the base game. So that was the Lands Between. We're still in a place that gets called the Lands Between, and it also gets called Limveld. And apparently that's supposed to be the same as like Limgrave from the original Lands Between game world. And here, the only thing I actually want to point out is just the fact that this game is kind of like a reimagining of the original game, and that's kind of like a multiverse thing. You could think of it that way. Both the gameplay and the story itself have got this kind of what-if multiverse thing going on. What really seems to connect these two separate universes is this roundtable hold place. In the base game, the roundtable hold was this mysterious, disconnected area where the players we've never been sure like where this is, kind of thing. And also in Nightreign, where in a roundtable hold on this tiny island, where this is, we have no idea, but that's where we are. And so I think we could ask the question if this roundtable hold in both games is even in the same world that we're otherwise playing in. I would say that it seems like it's not. The roundtable holds, I might even say in both games, is meant to be in kind of like a higher dimension, which appears across different realities somehow. That's not really explained anywhere, but what it seems to be. Anyway, our parallel reality roundtable hold is still got the same assets the original roundtable hold had, including all the paintings of like Marika and Godfrey and whatnot, Radagon as well. One thing I thought was just kind of strange was the fact that none of these characters are mentioned at all anywhere in this game by anybody. There's continuity in terms of these assets that they reused, but less so when it comes to story, I guess. So there's probably more to it, but I don't know, I just thought it was strange how just nobody mentions any of these old characters from the original game. Where's Marika and the Tarnished? Why are we called, what is it? Condemned? Like this one part, and then we're called Nightfarers as well. We're Condemned and Nightfarers. Okay, great. Does that mean like we're tarnished? We're used to be tarnished and we turn into that? There's simply no explanation. The roundtable hold in Elden Ring Nightreign serves as a central hub for the player character. This is where all the different player characters live together and interact, and different elements of their stories will play out within the roundtable hold as well. Maybe the most important area of the roundtable hold is the table in the center. It's from this table that we launch our expeditions, and expeditions are the actual gameplay. Please note that anything you can find within the roundtable hold, you can fast travel there by clicking on the same area in your menu. But sticking on this worlds thing again for a second, we launch an expedition from the roundtable hold, roundtable, of course, and when we do this, we're thrown into like another world, it seems like. This is the somewhat randomized map that we get to play at our game on, and it's this map that we play on that's referred to as Limveld. But again, how are we to understand this from the story perspective? Like, what is actually happening when we do this? Here, it seems as though the world that we're being thrown into is being created for us as we jump into it, right? Making it seem very much as though this is a synthetic, recreated type world that we're entering. Like, it seems as though the gameplay itself is kind of like a simulation. This game, just like the base game, very heavily borrows this term memory all over the place. And in a sense, we're kind of like memories being replayed in a way. Or the idea that as we play the game, we're recollecting our memories of some past life. So these vague, old philosophical themes, I think, are there. But let's get back to the gameplay. Very basically, the loop of the game is going to be like this: you enter one of these expeditions. Hopefully, your team kills all the bosses. You come back to the round table hold, and if you want to do it again, you can. Win or lose, once you finish the expedition, you're going to get some relics and some currency that you can spend on relics and other stuff or whatever in the little jar guy's store. Of course, if you quit the game or you get disconnected because the net's bad, then you get nothing. So it is better to lose than quit. Okay, back to this gameplay loop itself. What's actually going on in the loop? Essentially, your objective is to survive 2 days on this map that you've been thrown into. But it's on a timer, so what's going to happen is, over time, the map is going to shrink down. It's going to be covered by something called the blue goo. This gooey area is going to force you out a bit, so it's going to force you to go into a certain area on the map, which is where you're going to end up facing off against whatever kind of recycled boss you're going to get randomly here. So both of these first 2 days are the same in the sense that you're going to be on the same map, and the map is going to be shrinking, and you're going to be doing things while you're in this area as well, not just moving. The main objective you're going to have beyond just surviving, obviously, is getting more powerful. And this is achieved by killing enemies and leveling up, as well as just collecting items. This is because the more powerful you get, the easier it's going to be to play the game and win. Now, I don't have any kind of optimized strategy or anything like that. I'm just going to say, like, really generally what we do when we play the game. On the first day, you're going to be really weak at the very beginning, so you're going to be wanting to just level up as quick as you can. Most of the time, you're going to land beside some really trash little characters. You can kill them off. You usually get level 2 pretty easily, pretty quickly. But sometimes these little trash camps aren't there, so you have to just go to one of the normal trash camps, which are on the map. These are the larger areas, which have little mini bosses in them. On day 1, your main activity is going to be just running around clearing out these camps as quick as possible, while also killing enough trash to be leveling up, because you are just trying to level up. As well as upgrading your healing flask that you're going to be able to do in the churches that you find on the map, as well as the mines you can go into to get a +2 weapon upgrade stone if you want to do that. Keeping in mind that some of the weapons that you pick up are already +2, so you don't need to upgrade those ones. Churches and mines you can do at any time. You don't need to do them right away necessarily. But you obviously want to get those objectives before the blue goo covers them, right? So just kind of plan ahead that way. The same thing generally goes with ever jails and other objectives on the map, like mini bosses. But of course, while leveling up and killing these little mini bosses, you're going to be powering up as well, and this is going to be how you kind of build your character in the first day. So hopefully you find some good stuff, but who knows, it's all random. After you killed the first day boss, you go back into the same map again. It just resets, and you kind of, I guess I should say the map doesn't reset, just the goo. The goo is what goes back, and then it starts covering the map again. But on day 2, you're going to be a higher level, so you want to focus on the more difficult challenges on day 2 and leave the easier ones to day 1 when it's easier. So again, those little camps on day 1. Ever jails as well, you can do on day 1, but maybe wait until level 3 or something to get those going. There's been a few times when I've been playing when some eager character decides to go click on an Everjail at level 1 for whatever reason, and sometimes it's fine, but sometimes also you end up with I don't know, Dragonkin Soldier or Godskin Duo popping out of there, and then you're spending 10 minutes fighting one of these stupid bosses at level 1. I mean, that's not a good way to play, so skip them until you're a little bit higher level, probably is a better plan. But on day 2, you want to switch to the larger bosses that you find around just randomly on the map, as well as doing the large castle that's going to be in the middle of the map. This larger castle itself has 3 different areas that you want to kind of focus on. There's going to be one boss in the basement that you're going to probably attack first. The castle itself is going to be guarded by one of 3 types of mobs. It's either going to be Banished Knights, Crucible Knights, or pot-throwing trolls, and they are by far the worst. Finally, on the roof of the castle, you're going to find a second boss. Also, if you're looking for a place to upgrade your weapon, you know there's always going to be one of these upgrade guides at the castle. Sometimes you have a modified map as well with like a mountain or a volcano or something, and if you want to do that objective, you probably want to do that on day 2 because it'll be a little more difficult to do on day 1 when you're really weak still. But other than that, day 2 is exactly the same. You just, try to survive. The map's going to shrink down. You're going to face off against one of these recycled bosses again. And, well, everything goes well. Your team makes it. You kill this guy. Now I've got to face off against the Night Lord. But one more little note here on the world's stuff and whatnot. I think it's kind of interesting because when you have to fight the Night Lord at the very end, you also enter into this kind of weird dimension thing. I'm not sure what to call it other than that. The game is referred to as the Spirit Shelter. This is the area where we can get that last blacksmith upgrade, whatnot, the vendors there, and then we fight the boss. And so we can make a note here, maybe something kind of weird going on with this Spirit Shelter thing. Like, what is this? If we're in a remembrance, like, what is this kind of like sub-remembrance thing? Kind of interesting. Whatever the significance of this Spirit Shelter might be to some type of narrative, it's not entirely clear, but what we do know is we have to enter this area to kill the final boss. So hopefully we're successful in tracking down and killing those shadowy Dark Lords in our expeditions, and if we are, we return to the Round Table Hold again to do it again, forever. While Elden Ring Nightreign keeps all the same great combat from the base game, it also adds on top of this with some new things to keep things fresh. Compared to the original Elden Ring game, one area where they've simplified things greatly is the area of stat requirements for weapons and spells. When on an expedition, if you find a weapon, you can pretty well use it no matter what class you are. The only restriction is going to be your level in some situations. Like, for example, many of the legendary weapons require you to be, I think, level 9 or 10 to use. So you're going to be at a pretty high level to use those weapons. But you're not going to get those weapons generally until you're a high level. So, whatever. Level 9 or 10 by the end of the game. Like, you want to be at least there for sure. So, cap is level 15, if you didn't know that. Level 12 is kind of the soft cap. But anyway, aside from some of these really high level weapons, you could use pretty well whatever you find immediately in this game without any type of stat requirements because there aren't any besides level. So forget about having, enough strength and equipment, load, and all those things. That's all gone. But just because these requirements have been taken away to use all the weapons doesn't mean that you're not going to still be able to craft builds to make things better, right? Different Nightfarers, which is also another word for our character classes, have different abilities, and they have different scalings when it comes to different weapons and spells and whatnot. The difference being mainly that in this game, builds aren't really focused around stats so much as they are around modifiers, as well as the items that you're going to find randomly within the level itself, where you can't actually plan ahead because it's all random and you don't know what you're going to get. But in terms of planning, what you can do is assign your character certain relics. In this game, relics are the color-coded gems that you use to apply modifiers to your starting character. You can attain relics by completing expeditions or by purchasing them from the little jar guide, where you can also buy chalices if you want. You have to match the relic colors up with the relic slots. Unless you have like a clear relic slot, then you can put any color gem there. Oh, wow. Alright, so every character is going to have like a handful of these chalices, which is going to have a bunch of slots where they can put relics into, and then you can select one of these chalices to take in with you to the expedition. And this is going to just modify how your character's weapons work sometimes, or whatever. Lots of things that could be modified, including the special abilities of the characters. Now, this is an area I haven't talked about yet, but this is something kind of new to this game. Every character class in this game has got its own unique, individual kind of class abilities and skills, including some kind of power-up attack. For the most part, everyone's got some kind of super attack. And that's, of course, very different from the base game, where selecting class didn't really matter at all, besides some very minor stat differences. Now, to get into talking about these character abilities, we have to actually talk about each individual character, and I don't want to do that today, so we'll come back to that another time. But in terms of what you're going to be doing to plan your expedition, is going to be selecting a character and selecting a bunch of relics to modify that character. And then you're gonna play through the level, and hopefully you'll find some really good drops that are gonna, be really fun to play with. And it's this hopefully find something cool part of the game, which is, the second part of your build, I guess you could say. Kind of like half your build is planned, and half your build is going to be just random stuff you find in the game. Also going to include just weapons that you pick up, which you're not maybe even going to use, but what you want on these weapons is just, again, different modifiers. For example, let's say that you're going for like an Unga Bunga jump attack kind of thing. Well, then you're going to have basically your two weapons that you're using, let's say one in each hand, but you've got 4 other weapon slots that you can fill with other weapons, and maybe you want to have a bonus on those weapons that enhance your jump attacks, right? So you can stack 4 of those. You don't need to be using these kind of trash weapons to have the benefit of those modifiers. So look out for those when they're going to be beneficial for you or your teammates. And so we could say, like, what are you trying to do in this game? Well, essentially you're just trying to become as powerful as possible, because when you do that, the game just becomes more and more easy. But even here, I think they did a pretty good job of keeping the boss's HP high enough and the damage low enough from the teams where it's not going to be, like, too overkill most of the time, because it is fairly challenging to actually get, like, a good random team to a high level. But I see this as a positive, because if it was too easy to get so overpowered, then the game would just be too easy. And if the game was too easy, it wouldn't really be a Souls game, And hey, if your game doesn't go that well and you don't get leveled up maximum and you don't have very good weapons to drop, well, you're going to have kind of a crappy time at the very end, because you're not going to be that strong and it's going to be harder. Not to give up, just it's going to take, your damage is going to be lower and you're going to get killed easier. That's how it goes. This just means longer fights, right? So with the same kind of challenges Elden Ring, the stronger you are, the easier the game is. The weaker you are, you can still do it, but it's going to take a lot longer. And this game is a race against time, even though technically the boss fights are not timed. You can have as much time as you want there. One more thing I think was very positive was how they allow the storyline to be kind of separated and optional like they do in the base game. So if you can't be bothered with the story stuff, you can skip it completely. You don't have to do it at all. And that's nice for some people, and I appreciate that. But in Nightreign, we get more of a focused class design with unique abilities, which I think is pretty interesting and a good direction to go in. They managed to add it on top of the existing Elden Ring kind of complex combat that was already there, and it all kind of works pretty well, I think. But in terms of this main -1 point that I'm giving here, is I think there should just be like more here. What's here is pretty good, but there's just like not enough of it, I think is what I'm saying here. So what I mean by this is there's 8 characters you can choose from. There should be more, I think like 8 bosses. There should be way more. We've got a good amount of weapons from Elden Ring. We've got no weapons from Dark Souls. We've got, a couple bosses here and there from Dark Souls. Like there should just be like a lot more, I think. But anyways, yeah, so -1 point for not enough. And I'm going to take the second point off here for something like recycling and reusing stuff, but not exactly just like, not just because they reuse stuff. I think that's fine. Sometimes a lot of the reusing stuff here is fine, I think, and good, like no problem. What I'm saying here is I think they just go too far with reusing stuff and -1 point because of that. My personal experience was definitely affected more than a few times by net connectivity issues. Why the global matchmaking seems to be taking place regardless of whatever I put in the settings. It doesn't seem to matter. I'm still matching with people like from all over the world for some reason. And yes, latency has been an issue more than once for sure. Now, would dedicated servers fix this? I really don't know. I think it would, but to be fair, there's no making people use good internet connections when they play the game. They're still going to use those Wi-Fi connections and whatever else that are going to be very badly performing. Which, okay, fine, but like then they end up hosting on those crap connections, and then the whole thing is just kind of crap. At least I think that's part of it, maybe. So here, I don't know, maybe it's possible that continuing to reuse the old peer-to-peer stuff is not the best when it comes to performance outcomes, we'll say. Okay, a few things here that I think just could be and should be probably improved upon. Number one, the way that you're able to kind of search through your existing relics for things that you want is not very good. There should be some better options here, like a search bar or something. And coming back to that reusing, recycling stuff going too far, let's talk about some of these skins that they gave us. Quite literally, some of these are just copy pastes with like one minor little detail change on them, and like why? Like, what's the point of these? You know, right? So that's just, I guess, another example of that -1 point of when things, when they just go too far with the copy and paste type stuff. One other little thing that I noticed that I didn't like in terms of the controls this time around. So they've added a couple more things now. It's added a little more complexity to the game, and that's okay. Like, for example, on Xbox controller, you're going to be holding Y and pressing left trigger or right trigger to get your kind of special abilities. So I'm fine with that. But they've also decided to add another run button, and this is the one that I don't like very much. The left thumbstick, when you click it down, that's okay sometimes. Like, sometimes when you got to use a scope or whatever, it's not bad to use that button. But when you got to use a button all the time and also like steer with it, it's kind of like not very fun to use. So this is definitely kind of like a nitpick thing on my end. I realize I don't like using that thumb click button, and I'd rather just use the old run button. Everything being said now, I'm still going to go with 8 out of 10. I think it's a very solid game overall, and I would recommend it to anyone who enjoyed playing Elden Ring originally. Or if you want to try Elden Ring maybe, and you just want to try a simplified version of that you can very easily play with some friends if you want to. Or 2 internet randos if you have no friends, like most people. That's more or less what this game is, as well. Maybe you decided you're going to play this game, or maybe not, whatever, What do I care? Alright, well, this is the end of the video now, so just gonna kind of